divine guest Sri Abhay Charanarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki
Jai.
Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki
Jai.
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामा कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की मथुरापुरी वृंदावन धाम की गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की जय। श्याम वेद भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Hare Hare.
So we are reading today Canto 1, Chapter 18, and the text number is 26. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasa Tato Jaya Mudirave Nashta Prayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtuki. So text number 26, I will read 3 times and you please recite after that. Pratiruddhendriya prana mano buddhim uparatam Isthana trayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam. Pratiruddhendriya prana mano buddhim uparatam Isthan trayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam. Pratiruddhendriya prana mano buddhim uparatam Isthana trayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam. Please recite.
Pratiruddhendriya prana manobuddhim uparatam sthanatrayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Guru. Pratiruddhendriya prana mana buddhim uparatam sthanatrayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Pratiruddhendriya pranam mano buddhim uparayatam sthanatrayat param praptam brahma bhutam vikrayam.
Pratiruddhendriya prana mano buddhim uparatam sthanatrayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam.
Anyone else? Okay, so let us read word to word translation. Pratiruddham is restrained. Indriya, the sense organs. Prana, the air of respiration. Manaha, the mind. Buddhim, intelligence. Uparatam, inactive. Sthana, the place. Trayata, from the 3. Param, transcendental. Praptam, achieved. Brahma bhutam, qualitatively equal with the supreme absolute. Avikrayam, unaffected. translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Muni's sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities, and he was situated in a trance apart from the three: wakeful, dream, and unconscious, having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute. Purport. It appears that Muni, in whose hermitage the king entered, was in yogic trance. The transcendental position is attained by three processes, namely the process of jnana, or the theoretical knowledge of transcendence, the process of yoga, or factual realization of the trance, and by manipulation of the physiological and psychological functions of the body. In the most approved process of bhakti yoga, or the engagement of senses in the devotional service of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita also, we have information of the gradual development of perception from matter to a living entity. Our material mind and the body develop from the living entity, the soul, and being influenced by the three qualities of matter. We forget our real identity. The jnana process theoretically speculates about the reality of the soul. The bhakti yoga actually engages the spiritual soul in activities. The perception of matter is transcended to still subtler state of the senses. The senses are transcended to the subtler mind, and then to breathing activities, and gradually to the intelligence. Beyond the intelligence, the living soul is realized by the mechanical activity of the yoga system or practice of meditation, restraining the senses, regulating the breathing system, and applying the intelligence to rise to the transcendental platform. This stops all material activities of the body. The king saw the Muni in that position, and he saw the Muni as follows. He also saw the Muni as follows, which we will discuss in tomorrow's verse. Om Agyantimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Namaha. Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschatya Desh Tarine. So thank you very much for attending this Bhagavatam class this morning, and thank you also for tolerating me third time this week. And now I will be going for Sadhu Sangha in a couple of days, and then I will not be joining the class for almost 2 weeks. So thank you for all your association. So because we grow in bhakti by associating with each other, and that really helps all of us. So here, actually, we are seeing the description of Samik Rishi, and when Parikshit Maharaj entered in the hermitage of Samik Rishi, what he saw. So that's like a practical description we are reading here, and it's very like a acute description, that we have to try to understand what he is trying to say, Sud Goswami actually. And it's a little bit hard, but we'll try to understand this thing. So in the last shloka we read, the last line says, Shanika Rishi, well-known Shanika Rishi's hermitage was that, and he saw, the Parikshit Maharaj saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes. So we can see the last shloka we read that he was sitting, he was not responding. And also Shanik Rishi was very silent, and his eyes were closed. And we also know that at that time, Shanik Parikshit Maharaj's condition, because he went for the hunting, and he was very fatigued, and he was very hungry, and also he was very thirsty. So, and he just wanted little water. That's what he wanted, In search of water, he entered the hermitage of Shanik Rishi. But as Muni was in trance. As we read that his eyes were closed, so he was in full trance. So he could not hear anything because his mind was away from all the material senses. And we also read that he was covered with the skin, the deer skin, the skin of the male deer. So, and his hairs were matted. So he was completely unaware of Parikshit Maharaj coming in and asking for water. He was not aware of that. So that's why he could not respond to king's request. And we know that king was already very thirsty. His mind was not working. His palate was actually so dry, that he wanted some water very urgently. And when king did not receive any response from the Muni, like at least, when some guest comes to our house, there are three things which are very important. And it doesn't cost anything actually to anybody. And even the Vedic literature says that if somebody comes, even although he may be one's enemy, he should be respected with water and first give him the seat, some asan, and then give him some water, and then sweet word, just good reception, by sweet words. So if we do these three things, that our atithi duty we are carrying. So sometime even the enemy comes, we should respond that way, if he comes to our place. Like we know Jarasandha knew that Lord Krishna, Bhim and Arjun are coming. And he knew that these people are not Brahmanas, they are Kshatriyas, and they are here to fight with me. He knew that, but still, he like did Atithi Satkar so nicely that they could not feel, Krishna, and they knew, that Jarasandha we have to kill, but he really respected them so nicely. In the daytime they will fight, in the night time they will sit down together and eat nicely, and he will say, take some more, like friends. But they were like enemies, so that way the Atithi Satkar should be done. So, but when King Parikshit didn't get any of these things, so he became very, very suddenly angry. And then what he thought, like at that time, when we get angry, what happens? Our negative thoughts actually start working. So he thought that he's Brahmana, he's from higher state, higher caste, and I am low Kshatriya. So probably he didn't wanted to respect me or do anything for me. So he said that another thing, he thought that he gave me very cold reception. So as soon as he went out of the door, then he saw a dead snake there. So he took the snake on his arrow and then put it on the neck of the Samik Rishi. So that's what he did, but in the way he was feeling bad. And then when he came, when his mind was a little peaceful, he knew that I didn't do right thing, So any good person, if he does something bad, he will realize that and he repent for that. So Srila Prabhupada is writing in the translation that Samik Rishi was sitting in the trance. So the trance is the state. Prabhupada is writing in the translation that he was situated in a trance apart from the three: wakeful, dream, and unconscious. So actually these are the three stages: wakeful stage, and then dreaming state, and the deep sleep state. So these are the three states actually we all go through every single day. And every man's life we see them. It happens all the time. So either we are in Jagrata state or Swapna state or Susupta state. So Prabhupada is writing here that deep sleep state or dreamless state, or he's writing unconsciousness. So person gets just unconscious, just for a little bit, when for a few hours, but Prabhupada is writing unconscious state. So each morning, actually, when we get up, we enter the wakeful state, we get up, we do brush and take shower and all those things, So then we do our whole activity whole day. So that's wakeful state. So basically, in that state, our mind actually works through all five senses, and we are awake fully, and we are aware of all our surroundings, what is going on, we know it fully. Then the second state is the dreaming state. So dreaming state, what happens? Actually, we go to bed, and sometimes we don't get deep sleep right away. And it may be a problem with many of us, actually, And especially when we have any kind of anxiety or we could not finish some work, then our night goes through the dreaming state, whole night sometime. Sometimes we toss and turn. Yeah, when I was in my office, so many people will come. I cannot sleep. People want sleeping medicine. That is the problem in this country, actually, And when I was in India, I was seeing people are much happier there. Relatively, they are poor, but they were much happier, and they were sleeping good though. Yeah, in any condition, the mosquitoes are biting them, or temperature is so hot. Here people sleep in the air-conditioned room, still cannot sleep. So, and they go to dream state many times. So in the dream state, actually, we are unaware of our external surroundings. We don't know what is going on, but we are still be awake. If somebody calls our name, we can say yes, what is going on, something like that, And in that state, actually, there is no interaction with our senses. Body is lying in the bed, but actually what happens? We are in the dream. So what happens in the dream state? Actually, dream state, our soul leaves the body temporarily, although, and soul goes with our intelligence and our mind, and it goes out of the body, actually. And out of body, it goes different places. We want to see, or wherever we dream, we go there, actually. So our soul is there, actually. We are in the bed, although lying down, but our soul is at that place, where we see in the dream. And it works, the dream works according to our thinking process and everything. So sometimes people see the dreams 3-4 times, so many times, our soul goes out, comes back in, soul goes out, comes back in. And all of us heard many times about the outer body experiences. Like somebody was getting surgery done, he was lying down on the operating table, and the surgeons were operating and talking about what is going on. And his soul actually went to the ceiling of the operating room, and he was watching all the surgery. And he knew what surgeons were talking about his heart and all those things, how the surgery was going. And then when surgery was done, he returned back to his body, his soul returned back to his body, and like that. But yeah, when I was little teenager, at that time, I was seeing the dreams that I go to window, and from window I will flew as a bird, and enjoy the sky, and in seeing all the things from the sky, how they look, and I was free flying with other birds, So one time, and this was coming, for a long time, like that month or so. So one time in my village, one astrologer came, and I asked him, why I'm getting this kind of dreams. And then he told me that you may be bird in the last life. But he said, I'm not sure. So I said, then I cannot believe it, that what I was in the last life. But anyway, so it doesn't matter. And so this kind of, and what happens, if our soul goes permanently out of body, it doesn't come back. That means, what is that? That's our death, actually, we are gone. So, but actually we have this experience going out and coming back, going our soul, actually. We are the soul, we are not this body, actually. So our soul goes out of this body, comes back, goes out of body, comes back, so it happens all our life, especially in the dream state. And when we live our body forever, when we means the soul, our soul lives body forever, that is our death. So in the dream state, actually, we are conscious what is going on, actually. We are conscious of the dream, and we can be awakened very easily. Sometime, the Shastra describe about daydream and night dream. This whole life is like daydream, we are dreaming that I will have this big house, I will have this thing, I will have this thing, so we keep dreaming, but these dreams are so like unreal, that like making a house, by the sand, at the seashore. So when the water comes, it just destroys so whatever we do all life, it just goes away. So it's a kind of dream also. And we do not remember actually all the dream, but few things we remember. We don't remember all the dreams of what we saw the night before, we cannot remember everything, but some important things, sometimes we remember. And in the third stage, which is the susupta state or deep sleeping state. So when we are not awakeful state and not in dreaming state, that means, we are in a state in which we are not aware of our sleep, our condition, surroundings. And we are not aware of our senses, So in the beginning, when we sleep, we can dream little bit, for a few minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but then we go normally enter in the deep sleep. And we do not remember anything after that. So in this state, in the deep sleep, we spend entire night, and then we wake up in the morning, and then the Jagrati state starts. So this way, these all three states, wakefulness, dreaming state, and unconscious state, or the deep sleep state, they come one after other, and our whole life goes in these three states. But Prabhupada is writing here, apart from these three, so away from these three states, there is fourth state, which is known as Turiya state. So Turiya, actually, unlike the three states, the name based, because other states, like sleeping and deep sleep, dreaming, all these are Jagrata state, they are depend on the condition of our consciousness, our mind and our body. But this fourth state actually does not have any specific name, because this is the fourth state. That's why name is Turiya. Turiya means fourth. There was a word before, this was Chaturya. So Chaturya, so sometimes the cha, somehow the other, by the time we are hearing it's cha is gone. So people say now Turiya. So that's where the Turiya word comes. So there is one Prabhupada's disciple in Hawaii. I met him in the big island, and his name was Turiya Das. So this is actually very specific state. And this state cannot be compared with other three, dream or dreaming state or wakeful state, because this is pure state actually. Because these three states, in three states, what is like wakeful state, dream state, unconscious state, in these ones we are unaware actually of our soul. But in the fourth state, which is Turiya state of supreme awareness, so here we can see aware of the Supreme Lord actually, our soul, what we are and what is our relations with the Supreme. So this state is only realized when we experience actually oneself separate from the three states. So we have to separate from these three states. This is very super state. So sometimes people say the fourth state or Turiya state or Samadhi, what is the difference between those states? So actually Turiya state, they look very similar, Turiya and the Samadhi. So like here we are reading that he was in the trance. So actually trance is the Samadhi, not the Turiya state. He was above the Turiya state. So they both, actually Turiya and the Samadhi, they both differ a little bit in the context in which we are talking about that. So Turiya state is all about the form of consciousness. But Samadhi is the actual absorption in the Supreme Lord. So when we are fully absorbed and not knowing what is going on around and who is coming, who is going, all our senses are fully controlled, everything is under control. So Manduk Upanishad actually says that what is the Samadhi? Samadhi is the absorption in the Supreme Self. And that is the ultimate reality of our life. So here, actually in this shloka, there is very technical description of the state of Samikrishi's trance, and which is the Samadhi state, because he was completely absorbed in the Supreme Lord. That's why when Parikshit Maharaj came, he was not aware that the king is here and he's asking for water. Otherwise, he will not behave like that. He was very well behaved and very highly elevated sage. So as described in the last verse, 24th and 25th slok, which we discussed yesterday, Friday. And so it was all told by, and why this happened actually, that Samikrishi went in trance and Parikshit Maharaj came and he could not know, and the Parikshit Maharaj did something like which he should not have done. So this actually all happened by Krishna's will, because Krishna's plan was that Parikshit Maharaj should get cursed and then he should hear the Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami, and that's why he make all these plan arrangements. That's why Parikshit Maharaj accepted it as it is, that Lord wants like that, so let it be. That's why he never objected to the curse by Shringi. He could have done that. He could have asked Samikrishi to do something about it, or he could have gone to Vyasdev or Narad Muni. Somebody could have helped him, it's not. But he said it's a Krishna's will, so let it be like that. So that's we should also in our life, condition goes suitable or unsuitable, we should just accept it. It's Krishna's mercy that it is probably happening because of my sins, rather than say why Krishna is doing to me, or I'm chanting for so many years, I'm reading Bhagavatam for so many years, and I'm doing this and this seva in the temple. So we should not say like that, because that's not good for the devotees, because devotees should accept what Krishna wants, and even we get trouble in our life, we should see it as Krishna's mercy, and we should think that Krishna is actually minimizing all the troubles, what I should get, what I have done in my previous life, millions and millions of life, So that's the way our thinking should be. So the Samikrishi Muni's sense organs actually were completely restrained from all material things. And his engagement, normally what happens in every human being, because senses are always engaged. We like all the time, when we are awake, that Samikrishi was awake actually. He's sitting, he was not sleeping or anything. So actually his senses should be engaged in different things, but he was engaged in the Supreme Lord actually. So Samikrishi was fully absorbed and fully focused on the Supreme Lord, and he completely stopped the material engagement. So actually, to get the spiritual engagement, we have to leave three things. We have to do three things. First thing, we control our mind and all our material engagement. That's first thing we have to do. That's very important. Second thing, we have to restrict from material engagement. No, restrict our senses actually. We have to restrict our senses. And then we have to elevate our senses to the spiritual engagement. So when we do these three things, then actually we can enter into the spiritual engagement. Otherwise not, Otherwise we will do it as a duty, but we are not in spiritual engagement. So Bhagavad Gita actually in the third chapter, 42nd shloka, says, Indriyani parani ahur indrebhya param manah manastu para buddhi yo buddhe par tastu saha. So the working senses are superior to dull matter. So dull matter is the lowest. After dull matter, the working senses. Then mind is here, then the mind is higher than the senses. And above the senses above the mind is the intelligence. And the soul is ever higher than the intelligence. So this is the hierarchy actually, that how it should be controlled. And actually soul should be controlled by the super soul. So if we hear the super soul all the time, then super soul dictate our soul, and then dictate our intelligence and the mind, then mind will not be flickering, because we are interested in the lower things actually in this life. So how we can get higher consciousness? Just by engaging in spiritual engagement. And that way, actually, we can forget about these material engagements. And so like all the munis, the yogis, what they do, dhyana avasthita tadgatena manasa paschantiyam yogina yashantam na param yashantam na paravidu sura surgana devaya tasmai namaha. So the perfect yogis see within their minds after fixing themselves in the trance and observing themselves within him, whose limit can never found by the demigods. So actually, yogi, they see that way. They do the dhyana from the super soul in the heart, the Paramatma creature of the Lord. They see, and that is the condition of the yogis actually. And they meditate on the Supreme Lord, which never can be found by any demigod or any demon. So that is the position of the Lord. Even demigods cannot think we know the Brahmali, Vimochan Lila, we know how the Indra got bewildered, so Krishna can bewilder any demigod, so demigods are not that high, they are also like human beings, but they got special positions and special services by the Lord, and they are helping Lord in running this material world. So, as given in the purport, Prabhupada is writing in the purport, we have to control our senses, our mind, our intelligence, and our breathing, and then we can go in the trance. So our awareness actually of the surrounding, like hearing or seeing, should be controlled. When we do bhakti, we should try not to pay too much attention to hearing or seeing. Then only we can meditate on the Lord more better way. Like people get in the trance, the spiritual state of consciousness, which is much higher consciousness. And all Mahabhagavat are devotees actually, they are in that state, So that state is known as Brahma Bhuta state, which is given in this shloka also, Brahma Bhuta Vikriyama. So Brahma Bhuta is qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute, and they are unaffected by anything outside, like material things or anything, they are unaffected. And that condition actually is given in Bhagavad Gita 1854. Brahma Bhuta Pasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity, and in that state he attends pure devotional service unto me. So this is the condition of the person who is in Brahma Bhuta state. So if we read the translation actually one more time, it says that Prabhupada is writing here, right? It appears that Muni was, when he was entering, he saw the yogi in the trance. So Prabhupada is writing the transcendental position can be attained by three processes. So what are those three processes? Process of Jnana, process of yoga, that's Ashtanga yoga, and process of Bhakti yoga. So process of Jnana is like a theoretical knowledge of the transcendence. So here we can do that by study or by discussion, but this is all theoretical speculation actually about the reality of the Lord. They don't do anything, just speculate the things, the Jnanis. But yogis, what they do, they have the factual realization of the transcendence. And how they do it? By manipulation of the physiological and psychological functions of the body. So they go actually in the Ashtanga yoga. And Ashtanga yoga is, as we know from Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, like Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. So these are the 8 states. And this Ashtanga yoga was started by Patanjali Muni. And so Yam and Niyam, they are do's and don'ts of the yoga system. So Yam means what we should do. So we have to behave like universal moral behavior, how our behavior should be. So we have to learn that. And the niyama is self-discipline, what we should not do. And what are the social morals, what we should not do, those things. And asana means discipline of the body, how we should sit straight and all those things we have to learn. And then pranayam means we have to aware of our breathing, because in the breathing is our pran, our life. So there are so many kind of airs around the heart, especially 5 kind of airs. So we have to control those different airs. And after that, pranayam, then there is pratyahar, which is the withdrawal of the senses from the external world. So once we sit down on the asana and take the breathing exercise and everything, then we can try to withdraw our senses from this material world. And then after pratyahar is dharana. Then we concentrate our senses, so senses doesn't run here and there. And after that, we have to do dhyana, meditation on the Supreme Lord, and then samadhi, transcendenting to the self. That means we have to meditate on our soul and super soul, away from this material world. So this is the Ashtanga Yoga actually, and that way we can learn about Ashtanga Yoga. Then Prabhupada is giving here in the purport about Bhakti Yoga. He says Bhakti Yoga is the most approved process of the engagement of senses in devotional service of the Lord. So this process actually is engaging the engagement of our soul in the spiritual activities. So that's actually very nice process, and the Prahlad Maharaj has described it as Shravana, Kirtan, Smaran, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashya, Sakhya, and Atma Nivedanam. So there are 9 processes given by Prahlad Maharaj, and Prabhupada all the time says that Shravana Kirtan is the best process we should actually do the bhakti with, and we can follow other processes also. Then Prabhupada later on in the purport saying that actually the perception of matter is transcendent to the subtler matter. So actually, as we already read, that matter, after matter comes the state of our senses, and then senses are transcendent to the subtle mind, and then the breathing activities, and then control the intelligence, and then the living soul is realized by mechanical activity of yoga system. And then we have to practice meditation, restraining all our senses. And then we have to regulate our breathing system. And then we have to apply our intelligence to rise to the transcendental position. So actually, in trance, all material activity of the body should stop completely. So Swami Rishi was in that position actually. So we are reading here a lot about trance. So actually, what is the transcendental position? What is? So if you read Prabhupada's books, the transcendental word is used many times in the books, and its meaning non-material. It means it belongs to the divine nature, which is different from the nature we see all around us actually. So this is the transcendental means non-material. It's a spiritual. It's related to the God, and it should not be affected by all the happenings of this material world. And it also implies it will never be affected by material nature. So this is the transcendental nature. Transcendental nature means spiritual divine nature. Transcendent, like when we say transcendental food, that means spiritual food, prasada. Transcendental work means spiritual service. Like we can even work in the job but use the money for Krishna service, that's also transcendental work. Transcendental sound vibration, what that means? Spiritual sound, like holy name of Krishna or Leelas of Krishna, somebody is describing, so that's a transcendental sound. So everyone that way is connected to Krishna. That's a transcendental or a spiritual. And we know that we have to be above the 3 modes. Sattva, so there are 3 modes, mode of passion, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. So we have to rise above these 3 modes. Then only we can go to the 4th mode. So actually our attachment to this material world and our desires, they keep us binding in this material world. Otherwise, we can go in the spiritual realm very fast, but these, our desires actually, and inability to see the or experience the right path, because we don't get guru on proper time. If we get our guru, real guru, who can teach us, and instruct us what to do, then actually we can get out of this material bondage very fast that way. And this bondage, material bondage, is the primary source of all our sufferings in this material world. Why we are suffering? Because we are in ignorance. And then ignorance can only go away when actually we take the spiritual path. So Prabhupada actually is giving us the real path. And what is that? Simply chant holy names of the Lord very sincerely and hear with proper attention. Because sometimes we can hear, but we don't give proper attention. And then we cannot interpret it properly or use it properly in our life. So Prabhupada has given very nice formula and so simple. He said, just chant, dance, take prasadam and be happy. So if you follow this proper formula, so if we follow this formula, we can be very happy and reach our goal sooner than later. So we know that the king Parikshit, he went to the hunting. So now we will talk a little bit about hunting. Friday we talked about it a little bit, but we go to a little more katha, what are the bad side effects of the hunting. So I want to, Vishnu Gada Prabhu kindly touched that subject a little bit, but we didn't go in detail. So we will discuss little kathas about the hunting. So what happened? So actually Kshatriyas are allowed to hunt, and they have to hunt because they have to train themselves for the war. Because some other country attacks, he should be able to tackle that, so that's why they have to train themselves. So sometimes they kill the live animals, sometimes they even fight with the tigers and lions also. And they see that way how much stronger they are. If some lion comes in the town, and he's taking the animals away like cows and other, so he should be able to fight with the lion, so that's why sometimes they put their life at stake, and they fight with the lion or tiger or something. So king has to be able to deal with this kind of animals, so that's why they do. And when they kill the animals, what they do, they give the skin to the sadhus and rishis, and they can use as a asan or as their cloth. Like we will read in the next couple shloka that Samik Rishi was wearing this skin of the snake. So that comes from this killing the animals, and the kings actually donated to the rishis. So we know that hunting has the problem also, and there are so many stories in the Bhagavatam, Ramayana, everywhere. So like we know that King Dashrath Maharaj, who was the father of Lord Ramchandra. So Dashrath Maharaj actually was hunting, and he shoot by mistake because it was early in the morning. There was not enough light. So he shoot. Whom he shoot? Anybody knows?
He shot a deer.
No, he shot Shravan Kumar.
Shravan Kumar, sorry.
Shravan Kumar, he was taking his father and mother on pilgrimage, and he killed him. Now father and mother are blind. They cannot go anywhere. So when Dashrath Raja came near the place, what happened, whom he shoot, and then he knew that he killed a young boy, and his mother and father were crying, sitting nearby, so he gave them the news that your son is dead by my mistake, then they curse him that you will die when your sons, because of your son will be going to forest, in his absence, you will be your death will be happening. That will be the cause of your death, So second, we know the story of Satyabhama's uncle, King Prasen. Satrajit, we all know about Samantak money. So Samantak money, and Krishna was blamed, that Krishna stole that money because Samantak money was Satrajit. Satrajit, Satrajit was living in around the Dwarka. So Satrajit got the Samantak money, and that money, somehow or the other, his brother Satrajit gave it to his brother Prasen, and Prasen went with the money he was wearing in the neck, and then the one lion actually attacked Prasen, and Prasen was killed by lion, and lion ate him, and that money was still there, and then nearby that place was Jambuwan's ashram. So Jambuwan, we know he's living since when Lord Ramchandra's time, millions of years ago, and this was the end of the Dwapar Yuga. So he was living long time, Jambuwan, and his daughter was Jambavati. So Jambavati went out, and she saw that money, Samantak money. So she brought in her house. So she was having the house, and Krishna was blamed for that you must have stolen it, because one time, King Ugrasen asked Satrajit that you give me that money because it should belong to the king, because that money was generating 80 kilo of gold every single day. So they said that it should belong to the king, so king can use that money in running the kingdom, but he never gave it. And now, because they asked, so they were thinking that Krishna must have stole that money, that Samantak jewel. So Krishna wanted to clear his name. That's why he went with few different people, and then he went to the Jambuwan's house, place, where he was living, and then he had a fight with the Jambuwan. And when Jambuwan was fighting, then Krishna was a little heavy on him. So he said that nobody can defeat me. It must be Supreme Lord. Then he took his shelter and asked him, who are you? And he said that I'm Krishna. Then he knew that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he knew this is my Lord, Ram, in the form of Krishna now. So then he gave his daughter Jambavati as a gift, that you please marry my daughter. So that's why Jambavati is among the eight main queens of the Lord, like Rukmini and Satyabhama, so Jambavati is one of them. Other story is the story of King Pandu. King Pandu, I will go maybe 5 more minutes, and then we will stop for the question and comments. So we know that King Pandu was living in forest and with Kunti and Madri. And one time he went for hunting, in the forest when he was king. And then, so when he was hunting, he saw a male doe and a female doe. And so he actually threw a arrow on the male doe, and male doe was killed. But actually they were not male and female does. Actually they were Rishi and his wife. So, but they were in the intimate relationship. They wanted to have a child. So they were but they didn't have the house, and they thought that to have the sex on the open air, of jungle, it's not good. So as an etiquette, they took the shape of snake and doe, and they were having the union to have the child. But what happened? The male doe was killed by King Pandu. So when King Pandu came closer, and then he saw that he actually killed the rishi, he was lamenting. He was very sorry for that. But then the male doe, who was a rishi, he told him that you should never kill, when you should never throw an arrow when somebody uniting, you should never do that. He also cursed him that when you unite with your wife, you will be dead also. So that's why that was the cause for Pandu's death, actually. And we will go. We know the story of Duryodhana also, that when he went for hunting, he was captured by the Gandharvas. And for the release, Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he heard, he sent Arjun that go and release Duryodhana. And Arjun said that he sent us in the forest and you want me to help him. And Bhim totally said no. But then Arjun actually listened to his elder brother, and he went and he released. And then the Duryodhana was very happy. So he asked, that, okay, I want to give you something, some reward, ask me something, anything, I will give you. Then he said that, no, brother, I will ask you later on, not this time. So during the Mahabharata war, we know that one day Duryodhana was telling Bhishma Pitamaha that you are more favorable to the Pandavas and not favoring me. And so he promised that tomorrow I will kill all 5 Pandavas next day. And he said, these are the 5 arrows, I will kill one each, from one each of these arrows. So then Duryodhana said that give me these 5 arrows. So he took the arrows in his heart, where they were staying in the military, in the fight on Mahabharata war. So those 5 arrows of Bhishma, then Arjun went at that time. Krishna actually sent him, Arjun, you go to Duryodhana and take those arrows, because Krishna knew that what is going on. So Arjuna went there and he said, brother, you promised me. Now I want that reward, give me those 5 arrows. And Duryodhana gave those arrows. And he knew how important those arrows were. But people, Duryodhana, he was so bad, whatever bad he may be, but he still stood on his promise and he gave those arrows. So this is the greatness of the people in the older age, that at that time, Vedic time, that people were still have some moral, if they promise something, they will actually try to keep it, not like, oh, I must have told, I forgot now, or something, no, I cannot give you those arrows. He could have said that, but he didn't. So actually, Brahman Adi Narade Puran actually says 5 things actually not to be done in Kali Yuga. And sacrifice is one of them, offering oblations of the meat to the forefathers, and produce child with brother's wife, and sacrifice of the horse sacrifice, Ashmir sacrifice, this should not be done. So these are the different things, we should not do in Kali Yuga, and they are totally prohibited. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was talking to Chankaji about not to kill the cow because they are prohibited in Kali Yuga, so he told this thing in that reference. So actually we read this today's verse, that how Parikshit Maharaj actually entered in the ashram of Samik Rishi, and what we did, So very nice description. And how are these states? We discussed about wakeful state, dreaming state, and unconscious state. So we discussed about all these state, and what is the 4th state is Turiya state, and then Samadhi. We discuss all these. So if somebody has any question or comment, I will end here. And thank you very much for listening patiently. And so we can discuss it now. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. That was a very packed class. There was a lot of information. I do have one question, but if anybody has questions, please raise your hand, or you can just unmute yourself and go ahead. We have a little bit of time we can discuss.
Yeah.
The question I had, Prabhu, was you're talking about the 3 ways of approaching, and then we know that we can understand, we can realize God in 3 forms. So is it right to think that people who take the Jnana path understand him as Brahman, people who take the yoga process understand him as Paramatma, and Bhakti Yoga as Bhagavan? or
Yeah.
is that
No, that is the way it should go.
that
Yeah.
will be their realization.
Brahman, all that, the Brahman, the people in impersonalist actually feel the Lord, and in that way, in the Brahman form, the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. And the yogis, they all the time meditate on the Paramatma in their own heart. And the devotees actually see the full Bhagavan, full Lord, and then not want to see him, but want to do the devotional service to him, so that Lord can see them. Rather than we should not think that we should see the Lord. Actually, Lord, we should do so nice bhakti that Lord wants to see us. Like when we go to temple, the Lord sees us. That's why there is a story of Surdas. When he was blind. He was going every day to Baki Bihari temple in Vrindavan, and in the temple, actually, there was a lot of rush and people are pushing each other, when the darshan opens. So one guy asked, that you are Surdas, you cannot see, why you come to temple and then be pushed all around. And he said that although I am blind, but Lord is seeing me. I just come here that Lord can see me. So that should be our attitude actually, rather than other way around. So that is the way actually, Mataji. Yeah, we should actually meditate on the Lord, we should behave like a devotee and perform our devotional service if we want to be in the Bhakti Yoga.
So how do we know that Samik Rishi was not performing yoga and performing Bhakti Yoga? He was in the Brahma Bhuta stage. I think that's what the shloka was saying. So, but how he's sitting there and he's meditating,
so it's not clear, Mataji, definitely that he was in Brahma Bhuta state and he was meditating on his soul, or he was Bhakti Yogi. But as far as I heard, he was Bhakti Yogi. So it's still confusing to me also, Mataji, same way. If somebody else want to do their 2 cents, please go ahead.
Or if anybody has questions also, please. I know I budged in, but if anybody has questions, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat. Prabhu, you mentioned like one devotee, he was going Bhakti Bihari temple. What was his name, Prabhu? I couldn't hear you clearly.
Going where? In Hawaii?
Like the Bhakti Bihari temple, he was blind. Like
Surdas.
Surdas. Okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. It was a brief discussion. Thank you.
Right, I don't see any other hands up. Thank you very much, Prabhu. I know you really stepped up these last few days and gave us excellent classes, especially at the very last minute. That was very nice of you. Going forward this week, tomorrow, Mother Narayani will give class on the next 2 verses. And then on Tuesday, we have Kalakanta Prabhu visiting. So we will have a new person on our list giving class. So hope to see you all then. This evening, we have class being given by Mother Narayani again in the temple room. So we'll see you all there, and tomorrow morning again for Bhagavatam class.
One more thing, Mataji. On Tuesday evening, Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj is coming. He will give the 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, he will give class in the temple.
Oh, okay.
So that's the just program fixed yesterday, because Maharaj is coming only for 3-4 hours, here. And then he will take rest at Sukda Prabhu's house, and then next morning he will leave.
Oh, I see.
So he was passing through, so Sukda Prabhu invited him.
Sure.
And so he will be coming in the temple. So we will keep whosoever can come. I will request everybody to please Otherwise, temple will look all empty, you know, it won't be good. So
Yes, yes.
I just request everyone who can come, you know, they should come.
All right. Yes, so lots of programs happening, and it's our good fortune. I think everything is coming back to normal, so that's very nice. Kalpesh Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my
Hare
humble obeisances. I mean, I want to ask from senior devotee this question. I struggle in my own life to maintain the humbleness. I don't know how like other senior devotees would do that. So can somebody tell me like how to keep constantly remembering that, keeping that humility and humbleness all the time, to keep like what methods anybody would be practicing to keep?
This automatically comes in the devotees actually, but we have to be great devotee. We have to be properly serving our devotional services, you know, and properly following the instructions of our guru. That is very important. If we do it, you know, humbleness, it's not like we have to get it from outside, you know, we will get that. In each devotee, Krishna gives automatically those qualifications, you know, if we are a sincere devotee. So, and how we can keep it all the time, we should never have any pride in us. That's very important thing. And we should never think that I'm any great person than any other devotee. So if you have any pride, you know, that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the text number, verse number 3, Tranadapi Sunichena Taro Revo Savishanam Amani Namani Dena Kirtaniya Sadari. So we should not see that somebody should respect me, you know. If we have that kind of desire, that oh, somebody should garland me or somebody should respect me or give me higher seat or something, then we are not humble, you know. So we should give respect to everyone. Yeah, so that will come in us when we practice the devotional service sincerely. But it's hard to be humble all the time. That's a really challenge for any devotee. But if we are really fixed in our devotional service, that's possible.
Yeah, because what I have observed sometimes, even maybe it has to do with the spiritual discussion or anything. The intent may be good, but sometimes reacting to that and not thinking about like you know, and thinking that my position is right all the time, you know.
Yeah.
And that is where I get into like this is the also one of the source of my trouble when things are not working like way it was intended, you know, and it goes to haywire kind of, you know. So that's why I asked it like, okay, but I think so I got a good point from us thinking that I should not expect any respect. Instead, I should give respect to everyone. That is the that may be a way to meditate more and do more devotional service. Maybe that is the key to everything. If we do devotional service, we are absorbed into Krishna all the time. But yeah, it's very challenging to keep balance between.
Yeah, we have to control all our senses nicely. Those 6 Vedas, you know, Vacho Vegam, these things we have to follow very strictly. What we should eat, what we should not eat, and how much we should eat, you know. So because if you eat more, we sleep more, you know, it's hard to get up in the morning. There are so many things, you know, we have to practice in the life, but they come gradually, Prabhu. Suddenly they will not come. In one day you will not see the change, you know. It takes time, but as we go through devotional service, you know, we understand, you know, that what happens with eating more or what happens with sleeping more, you know, we lose the chance of getting up in the morning and chanting in the Brahma Muhurta hours. So those things, you know, if we do our devotional service sincerely, humbleness and humility, they both will come automatically. Yeah. Otherwise, you know, it's all our ignorance actually which causes all the troubles in our life. So once ignorance is removed, and ignorance is removed by the Guru. So that's why Guru plays big picture in our life, Yeah, we cannot go without Guru, because if he follows the instructions, then Krishna is easy to realize. Otherwise, it's very hard. Krishna is not cheap. Yeah, so yeah, humbleness with one. They are actually like ornaments for a devotee. Humbleness, humility, and that's nice question, Prabhu. You ask, and everybody should think how I can be humble. So, like you are thinking. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I don't see any more hands up.
Okay, so we can stop here today. Vansha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnav vrinda ki jai.